Guild of India says it is deeply concerned about the IT survey on BBC offices. In fact, placing it against the backdrop of the controversial Modi documentary, the Editors Guild has said that this is the continuation of a trend of using government agencies to harass and intimidate the press organizations in the country. In fact, the organization also said such acts undermine constitutional democracy and demanded sensitivity in the investigation. In fact, EGI is deeply concerned about the IT surveys being carried out at the offices of BBC India, is distressed by the continuing trend of government agencies being used to intimidate and harass news organizations that are critical of ruling establishment, is what they have said. In fact, I have Vijay Nayak, Executive Committee member of the EGI, joining me on the broadcast over the phone lines. Mr. Nayak, I appreciate you taking the time out and talking to us on Mirror Now. Your first reaction to the fact that these surveys are being carried out, and also, would you say this is unprecedented?
I think I would not say that it is unprecedented, but what has happened recently is that you have seen that the BBC's documentary was almost banned in India, but in spite of that, the people went on seeing this because there cannot be any kind of ban on the internet that is there available for the people. But the impression that is now being created here is that it is a kind of a consequence of what has happened. The BBC documentary comes, documentary is banned, and after that, this particular survey starts. Now, BBC says that they are going to cooperate with whatever the survey which has happened. But the impression goes not only in India, but BBC happens to be a worldwide service. So therefore, the impression that will go, that will be beyond the borders of India. That is a little bit worrying about it. And I am, as a member of the Editors Guild, I go with the statement which has been given by the Editors Guild of India, what you have read just now. And that is what I feel, that the impression has gone now. And therefore, there is always an impression that has happened because of what has happened to Dainik Bhaskar, in Bharat Samachar, and other organizations like NewsClick and News Laundry. Wherever the surveys went, wherever the agencies went there, impression that has created in India is that the press is under pressure, actually, you see. So that the government has to see that, when we say that it is democracy, we have a press freedom, I think it's better, it is better that we walk the way what we talk about.
Right, Mr. Nayak, I appreciate you, commenting on it, but stay with me for a couple of minutes. In fact, I have John Dayal, a member of the Editors Guild, also joining me on the broadcast. Mr. Dayal, I appreciate you also taking time out and speaking to us on Mirror Now. As a member of the Editors Guild, what is your first reaction and also your opinion about where freedom of press today stands in India?
No, I think the Guild, of which I've been a member for many years, has done the right thing by speaking in a very forthright manner, encompassing all the elements of the issue and not mincing its words. As a member and as an executive member, I entirely support that. But here I would like to raise two additional points. One is the international ramification. And now Vijay has quite correctly pointed to it. BBC is a global organization. It's also partly funded by the government of the United Kingdom. And this poses a dilemma for the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who is of Indian origin. Rishi Sunak is in a cleft stick now. Will he defend and protect the BBC? Or will he continue to whitewash and defend Mr. Modi? Because in the face of charges of civil liberties being crushed by Mr. Modi, Mr. Sunak told his own parliament and some media that they were quite happy with the way the government of India was running. And here is the government of India cracking down on international press freedom after having cracked down on national press freedom. As a member of the Indian media for 53 years, I can say we have survived Indira Gandhi and we will survive Mr. Modi and any future chap who comes to torment us or shut our mouths. That is not the question. The question is, India is at the bottom of press freedom, of freedom of expression. The Supreme Court, despite supporting freedom of expression, is incapable of, you could almost say powerless in the face of such rampant things. The institutions, press council, the other institutions created to safeguard all of it are totally impotent, if not also sitting in the lap of the government of India. And this is a dilemma for civil society and for the people of India. It's now for the people of India to say, we demand that government keep its hands off the media and all its institutions.
Right, Mr. Dayal, stay with me for a couple of minutes. I'm going to come back to you. In fact, I do have Vijay Nayak with me on the broadcast. I believe, Mr. Nayak, just talking about this entire fact as well, where the Editors Guild of India has, of course, expressed, concern about the IT survey on BBC offices. And like I was also asking Mr. Dayal, what is your point of view about freedom of expression as well as freedom of press today in India?
Look, you see, if you go a little bit back, actually, that there were charges against the journalists about sedition. The thing started at that point, actually, because if you start speaking about the government, if you start speaking against the government, then it becomes a matter of concern for the government, you see, and suddenly some actions have been taken. The Supreme Court had to come in between and say there was a bail which was given to the journalists also. So those journalists who were at the time, whose names were being taken, they were all very respected people in the country. So therefore, I am a person who covered the emergency at that time also, when Mr. Gandhi imposed emergency at that time, and there was a gathering of press in emergency. Very much actually, and all the organizations and the agencies were amalgamated into one unit actually. That has not happened now. But the point is that when something happens, we have seen that what has happened recently to Sandeep Kappan also, who went there, and after 2.5 years, 2 years, he is now on bail now. You see, he has been, but 2 years in the jail happens to be a punishment. So far as the BBC is concerned, the government may be saying that there have been some kind of what we say, maybe something kind of profit motive or whatever the things may have happened with the BBC. BBC has said that they are cooperating, but my point is that it has happened immediately after the banning of the BBC documentaries. So there is definitely some kind of relation that everybody will see. So there's kind of correlation, this kind of things are there. Therefore, the impression has gone, and what John has said and what earlier I have said is that it is a transnational news agency. So therefore, the ramifications are not only restricted to India, but they will go beyond India, you see. So therefore, I think our government will have to see that the image of the government remains as a neutral, and we have been saying, government has been saying that there is a press freedom. When you say that there is a press freedom and continuously the things go on happening in this way, then it becomes very difficult to believe that kind of a thing. So that is a very difficult thing to believe, and I think government will have to come forward to see that whatever they are doing, they have a complete proof of the thing, and if the matter may go to the court also, who knows what happens actually in this particular case. We will have to wait and see what happens,
right.
What kind of response the BBC gives to them, and how the government goes on.
Absolutely. Vijay Nayak, appreciate you joining us on Mirror Now and sharing your perspective on the entire matter. But for the moment, we're going to leave it at that. But I do have John Dayal staying with me on the broadcast. Mr. Dayal, just talking about the fact that what even Vijay Nayak was pointing out about, with the fact that there's no official reaction from the government yet, would you say the timing also says it all? Because this is also coming days after this entire row was also being demanded to be speaking about in the parliament as well?
The raid is the official reaction. The raid is saying what Mr. Modi wants. The raid, the manner in which it's being conducted, the agencies involved in it are telling you what is the intent of the government, and no English language or Hindi language can be more clear than that. The action is the statement of the government that we are probing our agency, a media that a week ago we were abusing for exposing the shenanigans of the current Prime Minister when he was Chief Minister and presiding over a massacre. The linkage is open for a 5-year-old child to read. A person of the meanest intelligence can make it out. The actions of the government are its response. It doesn't have to either defend it any further or explain it any further.
Right, Mr. John Dayal, I appreciate you as well joining us on the broadcast and sharing your perspective on this story. But for the moment, we're going to leave it at that. Thank you once again for taking the time out. Now,